So good morning from me as well. I will, in my intervention, because of course we are all aligned and we all agree, I will focus on the notion of resilience in our title. And I think indeed it's perhaps the most important notion that will drive the economy forward. Now, in a personal, if you like, funny coincidence, only a couple of days ago on Wednesday, I was in a leadership conference and I was addressing the issue of resilience, of course, at the level of how we can get organizations and leadership teams to become more resilient. But I would argue, and I will come back to this point, that the principles of resilience apply in the same way for organizations and leaders as for the economy at large. I'll come back to that point a bit later. Let's first examine whether indeed the Cyprus economy is resilient in itself. I think there's a lot of evidence that actually supports this view. Our above average EU growth rates, bounce back post-COVID, above the EU average, consecutive upgrades by the rating agencies, how even in the tourist arrivals, we replaced so quickly Russian tourists with Israeli and Polish tourists, the fast development of the ICT sector, we are operating at near full employment status, and I can go on and on. The point though is, why are we resilient? My personal view is that for sure the small size of the economy, it was mentioned before, plays an important part because a few small interventions can actually have a big impact. But at the same time, our extroverted nature as an economy, the high quality of our workforce, an entrepreneurial spirit that we have, if we're not unfair to ourselves, makes us bounce back fit. On the other hand, in The Economist, a few days ago, a couple of weeks ago, there was an interesting article on Cyprus where in that article, although it was acknowledged that the, for example, professional services sector reoriented itself away from the Russian market and cited the experience of attracting ICT companies and Israeli and Lebanese interests, it concluded, it made the notion of, it's down to luck. Perhaps we're just lucky as an economy, and the final punching line on that article was, can the luck of Cyprus last? I think that's a popular view, unfortunately, even among Cypriots, that we are lucky. But at the same time, I think it's an unfair notion and a dangerous notion. It's a dangerous notion because it can lead to a learned helplessness in the economy. We don't need to do a lot, we're gonna be lucky, things will happen, we move forward. Not necessarily the best ingredient for resilience. So if I take the ICT sector very quickly as an example, we do have a vision. A few years back, we came out with a very even utopic vision, some people would say, to be one of the best places on earth for people to choose to live, work, and to do business. A few years later, we see hundreds, even thousands of people, digital nomads and others, choosing Cyprus for those very reasons to be their base for business. In the strategic plan, we identified that Cyprus needs to be a tech hub, a regional tech hub and a business hub. A few years later, the ICT sector is indeed a major contributor of GDP, of the GDP of country in over 10% already. Again, somebody can say it's lucky because the war in Ukraine accelerated that influx of tech companies. But I think we should, consider this point about the glass being half full and half empty. There's no point to argue, are we lucky or not lucky? We are perhaps lucky, but the point is the glass is both half empty and half full. We should focus on the parts that we can control best and focus on refilling the glass. I mean, if we are resilient by just being lucky, imagine what we can achieve with more strategic planning and more transformational execution in our own economy, which is basically what I'm arguing. If we quickly focus on what was said yesterday, for those of us who were here, I mean, we're clearly at an inflection point. We heard from people from the US, from the UK, saying Cyprus is important. It has an important role to play in this volatile region and this volatile world. We heard about the president of the US saying that Cyprus is an anchor of stability in this part of the world. We heard about new geopolitical cooperation. The representative of Moody's yesterday on this stage actually used words to describe the economy of Cyprus, mentioning that it has a dramatic increase in ratings, dramatic, I'm going for the emotional language, and also a radical improvement in the balance sheets of banks. So if Moody's can get so emotional about the improvement of our economy, I think we should be a little bit kinder on ourselves about our potential and our abilities. So back to my leadership conference quickly, and the definition of resilience. I mean, it comes down to mindset and outcomes. Mindset, which is from fear to confidence, and from opportunistic thinking to more strategic thinking, and outcomes, which is all about a bias for action, organization systems, plans, different KPIs. So my final point here really is that at country level, we should move from a complaining and a defeatist attitude to a confident and a solutioning mindset. But for that to happen, we need to think Cyprus as one entity, Team Cyprus. I like referring to it. So it is about stakeholders acting as an ecosystem. It is about all of us understanding our role in that ecosystem and working to bring that potential and that vision for Cyprus to fruition. Because some friends of mine who come to Cyprus from time to time and look at us and hear us complaining about our problems, they actually say in a very dismissive way, do you realize that most of your problems are self-imposed? I mean, you are your own problems. So that's really the message I wanted to have in this conversation, that there's a new geopolitical reality around us. This does create new opportunities for us. We should not be complacent and count on a good luck because there are opportunities. The window of utilizing the opportunities is small, so we need to act fast, but we really need a conscious reset. We need to believe in our ability to reset our thinking and act as an ecosystem with a clear bias for action. Thank you very much.